I support the apprenticeship thing, I can see the greater good that would come from it once it gets going. To me, the education and training is like the biggest things. Like, I feel there's so much to learn. It's very hard to find good staff, and it's almost finding someone who's really keen to learn, and you can invest the time in training them. It's time and money cost for sure for a business learning it, as opposed to just finding someone that can jump straight in and do it. I've done some different business coaching group things over the years, and I think some of the best things I learned was not actually from the business coaches, it was from talking to the other companies, owners on the events we had.
Are you looking for high-performance AV distribution that just works? Meet NetVio, a UK-based innovator delivering cutting-edge AV over IP, HD-Base-T, HDMI, USB, and Dante AVA hardware, backed by intuitive, license-free configuration and control tools. The NetVio 360 configurator and license-free NetVio Go user control app makes setup and user control effortless, while the open universal API and pre-built drivers ensure seamless integrations with Control4, Crestron, RTI, QSYS, and more. NetVio is exclusively distributed in Australia by Chords Australia. Check them out at netvio.com.au. That's netvio.com.au. From the 3rd to 6th of February 2026, ISE, the world-renowned annual tech show for the systems integration and audiovisual industry, returns to Barcelona, uniting the brightest minds and boldest ideas in smart home and building technology. Last year, almost 12,000 professionals affiliated with the residential sector visited the show for a taste of state-of-the-art industry technology. As co-owner of ISE, CEDIA ensures the show remains the leading voice in residential solutions and home automation. Step into the residential and smart building technology zone at ISE, where visionary concepts meet real-world integration. And don't miss CEDIA's world-class education program, designed to give you the insights, skills, and techniques that are shaping the future of integrated living. Don't just keep up with the industry, push beyond and get ahead of it. Join us for ISE 2026 in Barcelona and use our special code, Master Integrator, for free registration at iseurope.org. That's Master Integrator as one word at iseurope.org. Today's cinema clients expect more, and with Colosseum, you can deliver. Through the company's new Spark program, when a vendor opts in, a dealer can get Colosseum-designed cinemas at nearly half price. Spark shares the load between dealer and distributor, cutting your costs and creating stunning, immersive designs, including 3D panoramic room tours that drive upgrades and close deals faster. Less wholesale cost, faster sales, Colosseum, the design and documentation wingman you didn't know you needed. Hello and welcome to Master Integrator, the podcast that explores the people, perspectives, and practical realities shaping the systems integration industry. I'm your host, Paul Skelton. Before we get into today's episode, a quick thank you to the partners who support this podcast and the wider industry. NetVio, distributed by Chords Australia, Colosseum, Connected Magazine, and CEDIA. Now, a bit of context before I introduce today's guest. I was born in New Zealand. I still have family there. I still feel a strong connection to the country and the people. And I'll be honest, CEDIA hasn't done enough in the New Zealand market in recent years. That's something I want to fix. But I also understand the skepticism. If you're an integrator in New Zealand, you've probably heard promises before. You've probably wondered what value engagement really brings. And that's fair. What I do need, though, is your support. Attend online education where you can. If you're able, come across to Australia for the Tech Summit. Enter the awards. Be part of the conversation. Because the New Zealand integration market is vibrant. It is capable and it deserves a stronger voice, but it needs local input to succeed. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the integrators and suppliers who have continued to support us in the market up to this point, which leads me to today's guest, Adam Liddington from Smarta Automation AV in Queenstown. Adam represents a newer voice in the industry, and that's exactly why this conversation matters. We talk honestly about the current state of the New Zealand market, consumer confidence, skills, education, and what the industry needs to move forward. This is Master Integrator. Here's Adam Liddington. So, welcome to the show. For people who are listening to this that might not be familiar with yourself and with Smarta, can you give us a little bit about your background and how you got into this industry?
So I guess my background's in electrical since I left school, and yeah, grew up in a family that's been very audio oriented, or hi-fi enthusiast father. So always had quite a interest in the audio side of things, and then technology in general. So I guess didn't have that much of an opportunity of pursuing that part of it in my electrical career when I started. But then once I moved down south and running my own electrical company, I'd seen a bit more of a need for that, and often a few builders where they're wanting us to do everything for them. So started to pursue some training and things related to that side of it, which is kind of when we started Smarta and started to offer the full bag of options from one company.
So what was your entry point, I guess, into the automation side of things? Was it through a control system, or was it the AV side that made you kind of then look beyond to see what else you could do?
Yeah, I guess we'd done, as like a lot of probably electrical oriented people do, you would try doing a few audio systems or some of these basic security and things like that. And then I just, started to look a bit more and made some inquiries with Control 4. And then that didn't go too far and straight away, but then eventually they got in contact with me, and that kind of kickstarted me into doing my training with through Control 4, integrated training, that part of it, and getting on board with them and starting to do some Control 4 systems.
And so what year would this have been?
That would have been back in before COVID, so just before COVID.
Okay. So it's still relatively or comparatively new to the industry compared to some other.
I would say within 5 years. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess then, because, you haven't really been around for a very long time, was there anything, I guess, that surprised you when you did come across to the automation side that you either pleasantly or not, that you sat there and thought, okay, I can't believe they did that?
It's definitely, how do I say it? Like you do an electrical apprenticeship, it's 3 years, you learn quite a lot, and that sets you up to do quite a lot. It's almost a little bit more specific maybe with the knowledge that you need. It's all very well doing a training on something, but then you've got years and years and years ahead of actually learning to become really good at it. So is it definitely a lot more involved probably than what I thought. And I guess with so many different systems that work so many different ways, probably the initial idea was, wanting to do so many things, and now it's even within that time frame pulling it back and just doing a couple and trying to do them well.
Yeah, there definitely is that risk. And I guess what I'm kind of interested in is, how did you actually go about figuring out what it was that you wanted to learn about?
As in, what side of it do you mean? Or
Yeah, so when you kind of sat there, and I know you can look at our industry and think, okay, well, we have control, there's networking, there's AV, there's security, there's everything. So when you kind of sat there and thought, okay, well, I'm going to go full press now into this side of the industry, how did you do a stock take on the skills that you had, and then kind of figure out, okay, well, this is what's available?
I guess so. We've generally, in the electrical, we've done a full range of electrical work, but have always specialized in high-end residential houses. So then working with other integrators and seeing the things that they were doing on those homes, that's what I wanted to do, but doing it ourselves rather than trying to work in with 4 different contractors. I wanted to become that key expert point of call that we can then do this array of things. So that was probably the key moment. Personally, I'm not a person that loves the networking side of things and that. So I have a staff member who's really amazing at that sort of thing. So I guess it's just I've tried to go into the part that I think works better for my skills that I have from the electrical side, and personal interest backgrounds with the audio and the design part of things.
Okay, so you mentioned obviously bringing someone there to help with the networking side. How difficult has it been to actually find those people in the New Zealand industry to actually, help you build what you're doing?
So I guess the way we did that, I actually brought another company who had an owner who was wanting to leave the industry and travel, and he had a really amazing staff member who great at networking, but also your whole form of integration. So that's kind of how I, got onto that person. But it's very hard to find good staff, and it's from what I'm kind of finding now, it's almost finding someone who's really keen to learn and you think would do well at that, and you have to invest the time in training them.
Yeah, look, I'll be the first to say that with my other role outside the podcast within CEDIA, I mean, I know I probably haven't spent enough time in kind of building that education pathway for the New Zealand market. I guess from your perspective, as someone who's kind of come into the industry, who's acquired another company, who's kind of had staff there to help, I mean, what would you like to see from that pathway? I mean, what are those skills that you think are missing in New Zealand that you'd like to see some support and actually getting some education around?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of, I see a lot of people that have worked hard for things, but they don't have something to kind of show for it, which would then help them go to another company other than experience. So having some sort of, I don't know how it works, like diploma or, these certificates and things that can help people, like how, although I don't like networking, I've worked my way through PCNA course to try and it's such a crucial thing in our industry. I guess it's something that they can get some value out of while they're training, like for me to try and offer something to a younger guy to come into the industry and on board. How do I, what's he going to leave with?
Yeah, it's a recognition of the skills and the work they've done.
I guess it is just a very wide range of skills, specifically what they are. And where you draw a line, I'm not too sure. Yeah,
that is definitely proven to be difficult. So, I mean, the good thing is that is something that we are actively working on, and it is progressing quite quickly now and getting a formal apprenticeship program set up. Obviously, at the moment, it has been driven by the Australian government, but the good thing is that New Zealand and Australia works very closely when it comes to education. So it will also be recognised there, which makes it a lot easier to then have a product that we can roll out into New Zealand. So I guess when you are looking at bringing people into the industry and the people that you have been employing, have there been significant skills gaps that are missing? Is it AV training? Like, what are the things that you've really struggled to learn about in New Zealand?
I've seen more people with some network training than the AV side. So the AV side's definitely less experience, or they might have had interest in it. A few of them have done different forms of networking type of things.
Okay. And do you think that's because that's where the interest has been on the networking side, or is it more just availability? I think it's probably
there's a bit more of a qualifications around that, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely formal qualifications available. Yeah.
And just the networking's, I guess, more prominent in all these big companies, and so there's a higher need for it, I guess. So you get kind of more people in that side of things. It's definitely that practical AV side. I think it's the lesser side of things, unless someone's coming from another company that they've actually done that work in.
Do you find that integrators in New Zealand are open to education? Like when you do go to education events, are many people turning up, or is there still, it's a mindset that I come up against here in Australia quite often, is that trying to offer education to people who've been around for a long time is a bit of an uphill battle?
I guess it's a personal thing, that isn't it? Like I've done in my electrical various forms of business training, and I traveled to America specifically to go to the CEDIA Expo so I could do some more business AV related training, but some people just don't believe in it. So I feel that probably a lot of the younger generation are probably a bit more willing to learn that. And then as you get a bit older, you start thinking, I don't have that long left. I'm going to try and get out of this. So there's probably less will to want to learn more new things or different ways. Yeah, I'm not too sure how. I personally would love to see more trainings. My staff, they're keen to learn more. They're, wanting to do some of the CEDIA courses or the, Crestron different courses they offer that we're trying to do in that. So some of them are really keen to learn. So I have no doubt that if there was a whatever form certificate apprenticeship thing for the industry, that they'd be probably super keen to be doing that as well.
Yeah, and it kind of then goes back to that challenge of making sure that when we do attract new people into the industry, that they've got a way there to, I guess, show what they've learned, their qualifications. And I know that also goes a long way with, one of the biggest stakeholders in this whole process are parents, and they want to make sure that their kids are going through something and getting a qualification and getting a career. And it's all good and well for us to say it exists, but we just need that piece of paper.
So I guess because we have the electrical side of our business, it's a bit of an extra offering to any of our, potential staff that we're looking to employ. We generally advertise as you have the ability to complete your electrical apprenticeship on the side of doing your AV kind of work and training, because then at least they are getting something, because in that side at the moment we can't give them anything.
Yeah, and it makes it a lot harder of a conversation. So you're based down south?
Yeah.
Yep. Are you finding that the market there has been quite active? Because I know when I talk to people up north around Auckland in particular, it's been quite a struggle. So are you finding there's a lot of work and there is some interest among not just end users but potential employees?
I think Queenstown's a real perception of being very expensive. So it's actually very hard to get staff to come here because there's a perception of it being very expensive to live and things like that. It's probably not a huge amount different to Auckland if you look at house prices and all those things. I know on our electrical side, we advertise all around New Zealand to try and get staff down here, and it's very tough because it's trying to get people to move here, and a lot of them just don't seem to want to. So I think, when I talk to people around the place, generally Queenstown, Wanaka and that are very busy as opposed to some of the areas, but everyone is in the same boat of wanting staff.
Yeah, and it's just hard because at the moment they don't exist.
Yeah, we help to offer relocation allowances or all these things can help find accommodation, but it's still very few inquiries.
So when you are posting for employees, the people who are coming through, are you finding that they do have a background in the trades, or are you getting just bizarre things coming through?
We get a lot, in the electrical side, we get a lot from overseas that don't have current licenses, might need sponsorship. Electrical is a bit of a hard one because it is so different between the countries. In the AV side, we've had a few people with some networking experience. I haven't actually had anyone that's been wanting to relocate that has direct experience yet. But I do feel like someone coming from overseas in the AV industry would be far easier for them to jump into working here than on the electrical side, that's for sure. Very similar systems, very similar the way they all work, whether it's here, America, UK, wherever.
So are you actively looking now for more people?
Yep. I actually need to put another ad up at the moment, we want to try and find a younger person that's keen to learn some new skills, really, yeah.
So I guess what kind of burden is that putting on you then to train these people from scratch in addition to running a business?
Yeah. As any new employee, the first few months, 6 months or more, you're kind of writing off a lot of their time and pay just as learning, I guess, and in the hope that they're going to stay around long term. So it's time and money cost for sure for business learning it, as opposed to just finding someone and they can jump straight in and do it, which does get hard because, you know a few good people around, but then I also know the people that own those businesses, so I'd never want to approach their staff. That's the hard thing. Like, the good staff are often with the companies, and being quite a small area, we kind of all know each other, so it's a bit of try and respect each other from that point of view.
Yeah, it's a good thing to see, but at the same time, it makes it a lot harder than to get the resources you need.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably not everyone's thinks like that, but it is hard when there's people that are probably not happy where they are and they'd love to move, but you don't want to approach them for those reasons. So yeah.
So let's talk a little bit, I guess, about the current state of the New Zealand market in general. I mean, I know that I've spoken to some integrators, again, typically up towards the north, and they've been crying a bit of doom and gloom, especially over the past couple of years. So in your perspective, how are you finding the market at the moment? Is it active? Has it been pretty rough? Is it getting better? Have you been able to almost avoid the problems?
I guess so. Between our two businesses, we had about 7 people year and a half ago and had a couple move away. So now we're down to 5. And I think because of that, we've been okay. So we're still got more work than we can do at the moment, but at the same time, we're not looking for work. We're just looking after our customers. I think Queenstown, Southern Lakes, it generally fares a lot better than the rest of New Zealand. When there have been recessions, it no doubt slows down. There's, we might have used to be the only one pricing a job. Now sometimes there could be 2 or 3 people. So people are aware that New Zealand on a whole is a bit quieter and they can potentially get better pricing. Or we see, which happens quite a lot now, people coming from Auckland and Christchurch down here and doing these projects.
We're seeing that in Australia. We're actually seeing a lot of New Zealand companies start to quote on jobs over here as well.
Yeah. Which I find that one quite tough, just from a client's point of view of knowing what's going to happen afterwards. Obviously some companies think about that and work with companies local to help support them after, but some concentrate on the shiny dollar signs and do these jobs, and then we get clients coming to us going, can you help us? Their jobs 16 months, 18 months down the track, and the original contractor doesn't want to come back. So it is a hard one, but I think it's slowed down, but it's not too bad down here.
And the number of locally based or Queenstown, Monaco based integrators, has that grown or is that pretty consistent?
I think there's definitely, as I was saying, there's a few that have come down a bit more regularly from out of town. Yeah, Christchurch, Wellington, Auckland, doing some of those bigger projects. And I think the local guys, they still seem kind of similar size. I'm not sure on some of their staffing levels, but there's been 1 or 2 new ones that are obviously living here now. I'm sure there'll be more moving down slowly. Queenstown's definitely growing as much as the space allows it to. So
Connected Magazine is your go-to publication for the commercial and residential AV and smart home industry. The vinyl revival proved that old formats can make a massive comeback. So what else have we left behind that might still have life in it? In this edition, Stephen Dawson explores the forgotten formats that could offer something special, whether it's a unique sound, a nostalgic aesthetic, or even a future opportunity for integrators. You can read the full piece in the latest edition of Connected and find out more AV news and new products on the website. Links are in this episode's description. And what about in terms of, I guess, consumer confidence out in the market? Again, I know Queenstown's probably a little bit more sheltered from the rest of the country, but are you finding that consumers are a little bit more aware of our market now and they're actually still spending money on integrated systems?
Yeah, see, we've been doing a few jobs where they've been considerably cut back at the start and to reduce the costs. And then by the end of the project, we've added in everything we originally had plus more. So, I mean, and some of these clients are Australian based or Auckland based and things. So it can't be that bad that they're, they've got businesses and things outside of Queenstown that must be going okay, that they're still wanting to spend this money.
And it's nice that they actually are spending the money.
Yeah.
So what is driving the market in Queenstown? I mean, over here, I know that, for example, Victoria is still being driven by AV. Queensland is very much all about security at the moment. So what are people asking for, and what's actually, I guess, helping to get those jobs over the line?
Yeah, we are definitely, because we're a smaller city that's growing, I guess we are definitely doing a lot more security on jobs that we never would have used to have done. A lot more opportunists floating around and things. So probably done more security in the last 2 years than I have in the last 12. So it's quite an increase in that side of things. A lot of our houses that we do work on would be your general AV networking, and then a smaller portion would be that they integrate lighting control in that side of things. Yeah, I guess most of our clients are doing it just for that ease of use of, we have so many different underfloor heating, ducted heating, and all these different systems. A lot of them are just doing it to just simplify that part of it. Yeah, but definitely a security side of things is definitely picked up quite a lot. Again, same with like we do automatic gates and these things as well. That whole security side is definitely in the last few years got a lot busier.
Have there been things that you've kind of seen drop off, perhaps quite surprisingly? I mean, I always look at things like the wellness market, which is this massive potential, and people keep talking about it, but it just doesn't seem to convert into jobs, or it gets removed because of cost.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We priced some audio stuff at a wellness place in town, and they just said they were reevaluating what they're going to do in there now. We do have some new wellness spas and hot pools and things, so I'm not actually sure who was involved in those and what they had go in them. Probably a reduced amount on actual cinema rooms and that I'd probably find. That's probably definitely increased, the want on some of these big houses to have a dedicated movie room, with however many speakers and things in there. Now with my clients anyway, a lot more of them are settling for a lot less as far as just a big TV and soundbar and sub, and not going for the whole kit like they used to. So
do you think that's coming down to cost, or is it awareness?
Yeah, and I guess a few of them are seeing, my friends have Sonos, so they want just Sonos and do these things. So there is a bit less of this kind of call on us for the, the fully built-in systems, I feel. Yeah.
Would you say then that that's almost a marketing issue? That, I mean, Sonos obviously is very, very active out there and talking about their brands, but some of the integrated solutions just, they don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of Snaps brands and things like that, for instance, you don't see it advertised. So, when I tell the client we want to put in some episode speakers or triad speakers, just as an example, they are unknown to a lot of the clients here. I'm not sure how that is in America, where it's so much bigger, but that's the same if I'm doing Crestron speakers or some of these ones, or Sonance speakers and these different things. I guess those companies aren't spending that money on advertising here that they are in some of the other parts. So unless you've really got that hi-fi oriented client that's spent a lot of time investigating things, you don't have that renowned name for a lot of those brands to compete with those kind of consumer push ones that every second person has. Yeah.
So I guess then, from your perspective as an integrator, then what's going to help you the most from the suppliers in there and in getting their word out? And I mean, who would you like to see them be talking to? Or, I mean, those stakeholders, obviously we've been having conversations around architects quite recently, but are there other people that you'd like to see the suppliers talking to that will ultimately help you get more jobs and specify their products more?
Yeah, I guess it's just, some of it falls back on like us as what we're marketing and pushing as well in our area. I've definitely pushed to some of my suppliers about better marketing materials and things. The easier it is for us to have the information or the things to do it, the easier it is that we can, push in those areas that we want to kind of go down. I would love to see them do more in New Zealand for sure. As far as specific, I mean, the audio area, it's a bit of a tough market with the consumer stuff, I guess. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure on the answer for them, but
is there anyone that you think is doing it particularly well?
I mean, like myself, I obviously see certain brands that are really like prominent on the likes of Instagram or those things, and then comparing two brands that I deal with, one seems to be doing some really nice posts and pushing for things that I can easily share and send to potential clients or things like that, which makes it easy. And the other one is posting product photos, which isn't very exciting to anyone, So some of the two big brands there, two different approaches, and I find one's really good and the other one is kind of missing the mark on what they're doing, and they're making it harder for me.
Yeah. And do you ever hear from that brand in particular directly? So are they seeking feedback from integrators, or are they kind of out on their own trying to forge their own path, essentially?
I think they're both open to discussion. It's probably, a thing of voicing your opinion to them a bit more. Yeah.
So I guess then if we move away from the suppliers marketing, and we've obviously spoken about skills issues as well, what are some of those other big challenges that you're facing that you think we should or could address potentially relatively simply?
To me, the education and training is like the biggest things. Like, because I am newer to the industry, like I feel there's so much to learn. So like I find you've got America, even with my other, not talking like, just from a CEDIA point of view, but from some of the other brands we deal with, where they offer so much training and opportunity to learn things. And you come to Australia and that's a step down, where they offer a lesser amount. And then when you get to New Zealand, you've got next to nothing.
Yeah.
People try and do these courses or trainings and they just don't get the people going.
Which makes it very, very difficult.
Yeah. So, you can't do things, can't offer things that are, if you're not going to get it's like me, I can't market if I'm not going to get the work. So the biggest thing is just that education and training, I think is such a huge thing. Because from my point of view, I won't go and push something that I'm not comfortable in. So, if I can be comfortable in that, then I'm happy to push that to my clients. But if I'm not comfortable in it and doing lighting designs, for instance, in our electrical side of things, I wouldn't be offering that because I don't want to be letting people down. So it's the same in the AV industry of the different forms of whether it's designing a media room. If I can't do it, if I've got the support from one of my suppliers to do it, then I'm happy. But if we don't have that and we need to do the training, if the training's halfway around the world, it makes it a big cost and a hard thing to do.
And to get a return on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's change tack a little bit and then we'll come back to education. Do you think that the industry itself has a clear identity in New Zealand? Do you think the industry actually knows what it is, or do you still see conflicting messages? Because sometimes I'll talk to integrators and they're talking about what I would consider outdated technologies. Others are talking about big industrial pro AV installations as if it's residential. So I'm wondering, from what you're seeing, do you think that the identity exists, or does it still need work in order to define itself for New Zealand?
That's where I think if you had that apprenticeship background training, that would really help with that. Because you don't have any form of training, it can be such a huge range. So, people know what security guys are. Generally, there's companies that just do security that, that's what they specialize in, and electrical and things. But that kind of definitely in the residential side, the like network AV part of things, it's definitely a bit more unknown, or can be a wide range of things where you've got guys that just do the commercial side of things and offices, and these really quite, I guess it covers such a big range, it's kind of a bit lost as to exactly where it is or exactly who you call sometimes.
Yeah, so obviously with the education side, like I mentioned a bit earlier, we do have this apprenticeship program coming. I'd be interested from your perspective, from the conversations that you're having with other integrators who are obviously based in New Zealand, whether if the program was up and running And we have been talking to a couple of New Zealand education providers to make sure that they're there at the launch as well. Do you think that it would be broadly supported by other integrators, or are you almost the oddity in the industry where you actually, because you've got experience with apprentices, that you understand what needs to be done to actually support this program, to support the apprentices coming in?
Yeah, I guess because I feel I'd take on someone straight away for the chance of putting them through that and getting someone else into our business. Yeah, I wouldn't be here where I am without someone giving me the chance to do an apprenticeship. So I'd probably understand that. But then I haven't probably spoken deeply to some of the other guys who have come from a different field or come into the industry in a different way to really be able to say their thoughts on that, because they might have just done on-site training and then worked their way up through their kind of knowledge as they've gained over the years. They've potentially got a different opinion on that. Maybe that's still the right way to them.
Yeah, because that's always a concern. It's a concern here too, is that we obviously need to have a certain number of apprentices coming through the program in order for it to be successful. But at the same time, we need employers to put up their hand to say, yeah, we'll take on the apprentices. We need people in the industry to say, yes, we will be willing to become an educator as well, to work with some of the training organisations to make sure, because obviously the training organisations, they don't have skills in our industry. We need people from our industry to say, yeah, I want to train that next generation. So it'd be interesting to see what that kind of uptake is to make sure that the program does survive, because a lot of people say they want this, but then we need that next step of engagement. And between yourself and maybe 2 or 3 others in New Zealand, it's been very quiet.
Yeah, it's definitely I guess putting it out to some of the other groups of the different brands and the people they have potentially, to get a feel from those. There's some of your other kind of big key automation brands. They may be not necessarily a part of CEDIA or something, so then you might get a bit of a wider view on that.
I want to go back to something that you just said that kind of set off a little alarm bell in my head. And when you said you haven't really had that opportunity to network with some of the other integrators out there, is that because there's no platform to do that in New Zealand? I mean, over here we have the awards, we have tech summits, we have other training events. So are there platforms or events that happen in New Zealand that integrators all can kind of go to en masse and actually talk to each other? Or is that something that's really missing?
I would say it's almost non-existent, other than when we've had, for instance, like Control 4 have done their yearly thing in Auckland and we've gone up. And then again, depending on what level of partner you are and things as to whether you're just turning up at the day to look at the new product offerings or if you're going to the evening events and that. So other than that, I guess there's not a lot. You have your home shows or your kind of electrical building industry Construct, I think it's called, which goes around New Zealand and does a few different things. But I think that's where they actually offer some of those kind of CPD points things for builders and people that need them. But otherwise, yeah, I think when CEDIA came to Queenstown years and years ago, I remember seeing that advertised. Other than that, I cannot think of any chance. The only way I actually do it is, again, we've got a Control 4 group where we can, ask questions. It's a lot of the integrators in New Zealand that are involved with Control 4 and advice. That would be the only way. Other than, brand specific, I haven't come across anything.
So that concerns me, because I know a lot of the relationships that are built, they get built at the networking events more so than anywhere else. So I think that's, definitely missing from the industry. So I think there's a good opportunity there to see what could be done to get around.
Yeah, I've done some different business coaching group things over the years, and I think some of the best things I learned was not actually from the business coaches. It was from talking to the other companies, owners on the events we had. So that chance when you're actually like, we're doing things this way, what do you do? That's been some of the best learnings I've had. And then, you're meeting these people and some of them being like, I've got a job coming up actually down in Queenstown. You might be able to help us with that, or various different things of those, of that nature. But there's no, other than it would be me, approaching a supplier. Do you have someone in this area that I can talk to or something? But it's not that kind of, there's no bond or like open online groups or things that I know of, where people are kind of, friendly and helpful.
If you could suggest somewhere to have an event like this, where would it be within New Zealand? Like I know Auckland, let's say it's divisive. Some people don't like to go there.
Yeah.
Is there somewhere or a platform that you sit there and go, okay, well, that makes sense. Why don't we tie it with that?
Yeah, I guess it might be dependent around like what other suppliers and things and people that are keen to get on board and where they would, be happy to go to as well. With like, obviously these events often happen with people sponsoring it and helping with, their things there. I mean, Wellington, centre of the country. Yeah. To me, that makes sense. It's a lot of, cities fly into Wellington. So it kind of makes it easy for people from Christchurch, Auckland. It's not $99 flights or whatever to Wellington from most areas and things. So it's probably a pretty good area. Yeah, personally get a bit annoyed always having to go to Auckland for everything.
Okay, so I guess, let's say moving forward, obviously in order to have things achieved in New Zealand, where it's the education up and running, the support for the apprenticeship program, what we're talking about with the, getting recognition amongst architects, that all needs, I guess, greater involvement from the integrators in New Zealand. As an integrator, what would actually motivate you to get involved? And what would you say to them to make sure that they are supporting these programs so we can say, okay, well, here's the industry that we actually are starting to make these inroads?
Yeah, so I guess, like me joining CEDIA, I guess a lot of people want to see value for what they're paying being the key thing. I've joined it because I wanted to do the CPD thing. So, I'm really looking forward to that part of it. And that also because I support the apprenticeship thing, I can see the greater good that would come from it once it gets going. And the online trainings and that you guys offer, I've got my staff that want to do those now, so we've signed up under one of the plans so that enables them to do all those trainings, which I think for the experience and what they can gain from it, it's really good value. I don't know how many people have been a part of it before and then have just stopped because they didn't see the value. But I think if there was potentially a couple more training offerings a year or things like that where they can send their staff along, that would be a step in the right direction. That from our point of view and my staff, we kind of both interested in that side of things. Yeah.
I guess, again, as the perspective of an integrator, if there are people out there who are starting to look to try and get into our industry and don't know where to turn, I guess, how would you suggest they find their feet and start to get themselves set up?
I guess it's probably approaching those local companies that are in that field, isn't it? Yeah, with no specific training or like pre-course thing offerings and things like that. It's almost a matter of probably phoning or emailing around and asking those companies in the area if you have any jobs opening, if you're looking to, take on any trainees. Because I can't think of, even in the electrical side, I personally would rather someone just, again, phones up or emails and says they're interested in doing an apprenticeship, and then if we can't take them right then and there, we might put their details aside for when we are, and then phone around those ones. Like the electrical pre-trade course, for instance, it's not a huge advantage to us in our thing. It's just come and get started, and you're going to be doing the same amount of time, but you're going to be earning money. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of yearly phoning around and for them trying to see who's hiring or if they would hire or what they would require. Yeah. For us, it's just, you don't have to have anything in particular. It's just that kind of friendly, can-do attitude, willing to learn. Yeah, nice to deal with clients and other staff, and a bit of technical knowledge or thinking is always positive.
Yeah, definitely. And it makes it easier too, especially if programs like what we're talking about are already operational in schools and actually starting to get them exposed earlier.
Yeah, it's just there's going to be more people interested in doing it, isn't there? So with more idea of what it's about, and if they already have some of those skills, it makes it easier. It's that simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes
Absolutely.
it easier for the business. The business is going to go straight into someone being able to, fit off a whole lot of these things rather than having to show them one item at a time how to do it.
Yeah, and there'll always be things you still need to show people coming in, but if they can at least understand the basics or even what particular tools are, that definitely helps.
Yeah, and I mean, it's an industry of where there's new things every day, so we're all learning all the time. So
yes,
it's just that right attitude of not getting worked up and just being ready to learn for the rest of your life while you're doing things.
All right, so final question for you. So keeping in mind that obviously a lot of the listeners to this podcast, they're either based in Australia, but we also have a lot of suppliers in the US and Europe listening to this as well. Is there one bit of advice that you can give to them or a misconception that you've noticed that they have about New Zealand that you would love to see fixed? Other than it's not Australia.
I would just love to see more of their products in New Zealand, to be honest. Yeah, I find kind of like the training, US has so many things and so many options. I understand that you can't bring them all here, but Australia get a lot more, and then New Zealand get a fraction of that. So yeah, I'd just love to see more offerings here somehow. Yeah.
Yeah. So either support the market directly or partner with local distributors and actually start to
that can just
roll
offer their products. I mean, it's probably a tough one because it's the turnover of the products and the amount, but if it can be worked in with their Australian partners or something so that, it can fall under that Australia, New Zealand umbrella to be able to get us more of these things, it makes it easier. Yeah. We often have clients looking at things and it's like, oh, sorry, that's only available in America or things like that. Whereas, if it is available in Australia and New Zealand, or even a lot of our products come from Australia, they're not stocked in New Zealand, at least you have that support for it. But when we're ordering, if you've got to order something from the UK, drop down screen, or, some of these things we get, it's a long process, which does put clients off, especially if things are wrong. So if you have some point of distribution and pushing it out in New Zealand or Australia to New Zealand, I think that could be really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And then actually making sure that there's tech support available too within time zones.
Just the support is the biggest thing. I think it's where I'm happy to push products as long as knowing we've got that support if something's wrong. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And that's something that I've said to a lot of distributors, both in Australia and New Zealand, and that's the most important thing is to have local tech support.
Yeah, some of them do it. Some of them do it really well. We use some software which support is a bit harder because it's American based, and it's constant frustration when you have to ask a question and wait 4 hours or 6 hours to get a reply.
Yep. And not always in our English.
No, yeah. So it does make it hard. So then, especially if you're at someone's house, you've got something that's installed that's 6 months old, and you're trying to work out what's going on. To have some support, it's crucial. Otherwise, you don't install that product again. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you to Adam for joining me today. As you heard in this conversation, education and workforce development came up again and again, and for good reason. If we want a stronger industry, we need more people contributing, not just consuming. Maybe you have experience you could turn into content. Maybe you'd like to become an educator, either full-time or alongside your current role. Maybe you want to help shape apprenticeships and future pathways. If any of that sounds like you, reach out and let's talk about how you can get involved. On an unrelated note, CEDIA Awards entries are now open. Alongside the traditional categories like Best Integrated Home and Best Home Cinema, there are categories that are especially exciting for specialised integrators, including Best Assisted Living Project, Best Outdoor Solutions, Technology Beyond the Home, Excellence in Networking. If you're unsure whether your project fits, I'm always happy to talk it through. Just reach out. And a final thank you to the partners who support Master Integrator and the broader industry. Netvio, distributed by Chords Australia, Colosseum, Connected Magazine, and CEDIA. Thanks for listening to Master Integrator. I'm Paul Skelton. I'll see you next time.